Before you listen any further, let me ask you something gently, without judgment. How many times have you lowered your standards just to keep someone close? How many times have you replied too fast, explained too much, forgiven too early, stayed too long? Not because it felt right, but because you were afraid of being alone. Most people never call it begging. They call it love. They call it patience. They call it being understanding, but deep down, you knew the truth. You felt it in the tightness in your chest when you waited for a reply. You felt it when your mood depended on how someone treated you that day. You felt it when you gave more than you had, hoping, quietly, that this time you'd finally be chosen. Here is the hard truth most people avoid. You weren't asking for love. You were asking for reassurance that you were enough. And that hunger, it doesn't come from weakness. It comes from a life where you learned, slowly and silently, that love had to be earned. That being yourself was risky. That being abandoned hurt more than abandoning yourself. So you adapted. You became agreeable. You became available. You became understanding at the cost of your own voice. And each time you did that, a small part of your self-respect went quiet. This audiobook is not here to shame you for that. It's here to wake you up. Because loving yourself more than anyone else does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean pushing people away. It does not mean choosing loneliness over connection. It means this. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop shrinking to be loved. You stop begging for a place in someone else's life while abandoning your own. Real self-love is not soft. It is grounded. It is disciplined. It is the calm decision to never trade your dignity for attention again. When you love yourself more than anyone else, something quiet but powerful happens. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop over-explaining. Not because you don't care, but because you finally do. You care about your time, your energy, your emotional safety. You realize that love built on fear is not love at all. It is attachment, and attachment always asks you to disappear a little. Throughout this audiobook, you will learn why begging for love destroys your inner power, how emotional dependence forms, and how to rebuild a sense of self that does not panic when someone pulls away. You will learn how to sit with silence without filling it, how to set boundaries without guilt, how to walk away without hatred, and how to choose yourself without apology. This is not about becoming unlovable. It's about becoming unbreakable. Because the moment you stop begging for love, the world responds differently to you. People sense it, not consciously, but energetically. They feel that you are no longer available for manipulation, that your presence is a choice, not a plea. And the most important shift of all, you finally stop asking, will they choose me? And you start asking, does this choose me? So take a breath. Slow down. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to prove anything. You're here to remember who you were before you learn to beg for love. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why begging for love destroys your power. Begging for love rarely looks the way we imagine it. It doesn't always involve desperation, tears, or dramatic pleas. Most of the time, it hides behind politeness, patience, and silence. It looks like replying immediately even when you're exhausted. It looks like staying calm while something inside you is breaking. It looks like saying, it's okay, when it isn't. It looks like waiting, hoping, adjusting yourself just enough so the other person won't leave. And every time you do that, something invisible but essential begins to erode. Your power. Power is not dominance. It is not control over others. Real power is self-possession, the quiet certainty that you do not need to beg to be valued. The moment you start begging for love, even subtly, you shift the balance. You place the center of gravity of your life outside yourself. Your mood, your confidence, your sense of worth begin to depend on how someone else responds to you. That is not connection. That is surrender. Begging for love teaches your nervous system one dangerous lesson. My value depends on being chosen. Once that belief takes root, everything becomes a negotiation. You negotiate your needs, you negotiate your boundaries, you negotiate your truth. You become careful instead of authentic, strategic instead of honest, available instead of grounded. And here's the part most people don't want to face. When you beg for love, you're not asking the other person to love you. You're asking them to have power over you. This is why begging never works the way you hope it will. It might keep someone around for a while. It might buy you temporary closeness, but it will never create respect. Respect is born when someone feels that you can stand without them, that your presence is a choice, not a need. That you are with them because you want to be, not because you are afraid to be alone. The more you chase love, the more it runs. Not because people are cruel, but because desperation signals instability, and humans are wired to move away from what feels unstable. Think about it honestly. Have you ever deeply respected someone who constantly adjusted themselves to please you? Or did you, on some level, feel less attracted, less engaged, less curious? Begging shrinks you. And people don't fall in love with what feels small. The most painful part is this. When you beg for love, you don't just lose power in the relationship. You lose power within yourself. You stop trusting your own instincts. You override your discomfort. You silence the inner voice that says, "This doesn't feel right." Over time, that voice grows faint. You begin to normalize neglect. You call inconsistency complexity. You call emotional distance independence. You call disrespect misunderstanding. All to avoid one fear, being alone. But loneliness does not destroy people. Self-betrayal does. Every time you stay where you are not valued, you teach yourself that your needs are optional. Every time you chase someone who is indifferent, you reinforce the belief that love must be earned through effort and endurance. And that belief is the root of powerlessness. Power begins when you realize this simple truth. Love that requires you to beg is not love. It is attachment mixed with fear. Real love does not need you to convince, persuade, or perform. It meets you where you stand. This is why the first step to loving yourself more than anyone else is not confidence. It is withdrawal. Not withdrawal from people, but from behaviors that drain your dignity. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing clarity from someone who gives confusion. You stop investing where there is no reciprocity. This will feel uncomfortable at first. Your body is used to reaching outward for reassurance. Your mind will panic and ask, what if they leave? Let them. Not because you don't care, but because anything that survives only through begging is already gone. When you stop begging, something shifts internally. Your nervous system begins to calm. Your attention returns to your own life. Your energy, once scattered, starts to consolidate. And that is where power returns. Not as arrogance, not as coldness, but as presence. You become someone who can walk away without hatred. Someone who can stay without fear. Someone who does not need to be chosen to feel whole. The paradox is this. The less you beg for love, the more capable you become of real love. Because love given from a place of wholeness is free. It is not anxious. It does not cling. It does not demand proof every day. In the chapters ahead, you will learn how this pattern began, why your body reacts the way it does, and how to rebuild your sense of self without closing your heart. But for now, remember this. The moment you stop begging for love is the moment you reclaim your power. And power, once reclaimed, changes everything. Chapter 2. The childhood wound behind your need for validation. If you have ever wondered why you crave reassurance even when you know better, the answer is not in your current relationship. It lives much earlier than that. Long before you learned how to love, you learned how to survive emotionally. As a child, you didn't have the luxury of choosing your environment. You adapted to it, and adaptation, when repeated for years, becomes identity. If love was inconsistent, you learned to stay alert. If affection was conditional, you learned to perform. If attention came only when you were quiet, helpful, or impressive, you learned to disappear in certain ways. None of this was conscious. Children do not analyze. They absorb. And what you absorbed was a simple but powerful message. Love must be secured. So you grew up scanning faces, tones, pauses. You learned how to read rooms. You became sensitive to shifts in mood. Not because you were weak, but because you were trained to be vigilant. This is where the hunger for validation is born. Validation feels like oxygen to a nervous system that once learned love could be withdrawn. It soothes the old fear. It quiets the body. For a moment, it tells you, you're safe, you're wanted, you're okay. But that relief never lasts. Because validation does not heal the wound. It only numbs it. This is why reassurance never feels like enough. Why one loving message calms you temporarily, but silence sends you spiraling. Why you can receive affection and still feel empty minutes later. You're not addicted to people. You're addicted to relief. And relief is not the same as love. The child inside you learned to associate love with tension and release, with approval and withdrawal, with earning and losing. So when you grow up, calm, steady love feels unfamiliar, sometimes even boring. But inconsistency feels magnetic. Your body recognizes it. Not because it's healthy, but because it's familiar. This is why you may feel drawn to emotionally unavailable people. Why you try harder with those who give less. Why you overthink texts, analyze tone, replay conversations. Your nervous system is not asking for love. It is asking for regulation. And it has only learned one way to get it, through external validation. The danger is not that you want reassurance. The danger is that you outsource your sense of worth to other people. When validation becomes your anchor, you lose your center. Your self-esteem rises and falls based on attention. Your peace depends on responses you cannot control. This keeps you emotionally dependent, and emotional dependence quietly destroys self-respect. Because when you need someone else to confirm your worth, you will tolerate things you shouldn't. You will accept mixed signals. You will stay longer than is healthy. You will negotiate your boundaries just to keep the reassurance coming. This is not because you lack strength. It is because no one taught you how to self-soothe. Self-soothing is the ability to sit with discomfort without abandoning yourself. It is the skill of calming your own nervous system instead of demanding someone else do it for you. Most people were never taught this. So they reach outward, they cling, they explain, they overgive. Not because they are needy, but because they are untrained. Healing begins when you stop judging this pattern and start understanding it. You don't shame a wound, you tend to it. The first step is awareness, noticing when your urge for validation activates, noticing the tightness, the anxiety, the mental urgency. Instead of acting immediately, you pause. You tell yourself something new. This feeling is old. I am safe now. This may sound simple, but it is revolutionary. Because each time you soothe yourself instead of reaching outward, you reclaim a piece of your power. You teach your nervous system a new lesson. My worth does not depend on being chosen. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. Your body may resist, your mind may protest. That is normal. You are rewiring decades of conditioning. But slowly, something shifts. You begin to feel more solid, less reactive, less desperate for proof. Validation stops being a need and becomes a bonus. And from that place, your relationships change. You stop asking, do they approve of me? You start asking, do I feel safe being myself here? This is the foundation of loving yourself more than anyone else. not confidence, not bravado, but inner safety. When you give yourself what you once begged others for, the hunger fades. And when the hunger fades, you stop chasing love. You allow it. In the next chapter, we will explore how attachment disguises itself as love, and how to tell the difference before you lose yourself again. Chapter 3. Love is not attachment, it's choice. Many people believe they know what love feels like, but what they are actually describing is attachment. Attachment is intense, it is urgent, it grips your chest and whispers, "Don't leave me." Love, real love, feels very different. It is calm, it is spacious. It says, "I choose you, but I remain myself." The confusion between these two is one of the main reasons people lose themselves in relationships. Attachment is rooted in fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of emptiness, fear of facing life alone. Love is rooted in freedom. When you're attached, your nervous system is constantly on alert. You monitor tone. You read into silence. You search for signs that everything is still okay. Your happiness becomes conditional. Good day if they are warm, bad day if they are distant. That is not intimacy. That is dependency. Attachment does not ask, "Do I want to be here?" It asks, "Will I survive if they leave?" And that question alone tells you everything. Love never asks you to disappear. Attachment quietly does. Attachment convinces you that intensity equals depth, that longing equals connection, that pain equals meaning. But intensity is not intimacy, and suffering is not proof of love. In fact, the more attached you are, the less choice you actually have. You stay not because it aligns with you, but because leaving feels unbearable. You forgive not because healing occurred, but because separation feels worse. Choice disappears when fear takes over. Love begins where choice exists. To choose someone means you could walk away, and you don't. Not because you are scared, but because you are aligned. This is why attachment often feels intoxicating at first. Your body mistakes anxiety for chemistry, uncertainty for excitement, inconsistency for mystery. But over time, that same energy exhausts you. You become hyper-focused on the relationship. Your world narrows. Your sense of self fades into managing the bond. Love expands your life. Attachment shrinks it. One of the clearest signs you're attached rather than loving is this. You're more focused on keeping the connection than honoring yourself. You tolerate what hurts. You rationalize what confuses you. You override your intuition just to maintain closeness. And the more you do that, the less real the relationship becomes. Because love requires truth. Truth about your needs. Truth about your limits. Truth about who you are. Attachment avoids truth because truth might threaten the bond. This is why attached people often struggle to speak honestly. They fear rocking the boat. They fear being too much. They fear asking for clarity. Love does not fear honesty. It needs it. Another quiet sign of attachment is urgency. The need to define things quickly. The pressure to secure reassurance. The panic when things feel undefined. Love unfolds. Attachment rushes. Love trusts timing. Attachment demands certainty. This does not mean love is passive. It means love is grounded. When you love yourself more than anyone else, you begin to notice this difference clearly. You ask different questions. Instead of, "How do I make this work?" you ask, "Does this support who I am becoming?" Instead of, "How do I keep them interested?" you ask, "Do I feel respected here?" Instead of, "What if I lose them?" you ask, "What am I losing by staying?" These questions bring you back to choice. And choice is power. When you choose, you're not at the mercy of fear. You're acting from alignment. This is why emotionally mature love feels stable, not dramatic. Why it feels safe, not chaotic. Why it nourishes rather than consumes. Attachment drains you. Love restores you. Learning to tell the difference is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about becoming honest. Honest about what you feel. Honest about why you stay. Honest about whether fear or freedom is driving your decisions. At first, releasing attachment feels like loss. Your body protests. Your mind creates stories of regret. But what you are actually losing is the illusion that someone else completes you. And that illusion is heavy. When it dissolves, something lighter takes its place. You begin to relate without clinging, to care without collapsing, to love without abandoning yourself. That is when love becomes a choice again. Not a reflex, not a survival strategy, but a conscious, grounded decision. In the next chapter, we will look at one of the most painful consequences of attachment, how abandoning yourself becomes the price you pay to keep others close, and how to stop making that trade.
Chapter 4. Why you abandon yourself to keep others. Self-abandonment rarely feels dramatic in the moment. It feels reasonable. It feels like compromise. It feels like being understanding. But over time, it becomes the quiet erosion of who you are. You abandon yourself the first time you silence a need because you fear conflict. You do it again when you laugh something off that actually hurt. You do it when you stay calm on the outside while your body tightens on the inside. None of these moments seem significant alone. Together, they create a pattern where your comfort becomes secondary, where harmony is valued more than honesty, where being liked matters more than being respected. Self-abandonment begins when you believe that your needs are dangerous. Dangerous because they might inconvenience someone. Dangerous because they might make you too much. Dangerous because they might lead to rejection. So you learn to manage yourself instead of expressing yourself. You adjust your tone. You soften your words. You rehearse conversations in your head, editing out anything that might cause distance. And slowly, without noticing, you start living from the outside in. Your decisions become reactions. Your emotions become problems to control. Your intuition becomes something to doubt. The tragedy is not that you do this, it's that you do it to preserve relationships that slowly drain you. When you abandon yourself, you send an unspoken message. My inner experience matters less than keeping this connection. And people respond accordingly. Not always consciously, but energetically. They sense that you will bend, that you will tolerate, that you will stay even when it costs you. This does not make them bad people. It makes the dynamic unbalanced. Respect cannot grow where one person consistently disappears. Every time you override your truth, your body keeps score. The tension in your shoulders, the heaviness in your chest, the exhaustion you can't explain. These are not random. They are signals. Signals that you are living out of alignment. Self-abandonment is not just emotional. It is physiological. Your nervous system stays in a low-grade state of stress because you are constantly monitoring yourself. Watching what you say. Watching how you're perceived. Watching for signs that you're still wanted. This hypervigilance is draining. And yet many people confuse this exhaustion with love. They say, relationships are hard, but love itself is not what's hard. What's hard is betraying yourself every day. The more you abandon yourself, the more resentment builds. Not always toward the other person, but toward yourself. A quiet anger that says, why didn't I speak up? Why did I stay? Why did I accept that? This inner resentment corrodes self-trust. You stop believing you will protect yourself, and when you don't trust yourself, fear grows. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of choosing wrong again. So you stay. And the cycle deepens. Breaking this pattern requires a radical shift. You must decide that your inner world is not negotiable. This does not mean becoming rigid or selfish. It means becoming honest. Honest about what hurts. Honest about what you need. Honest about what you will no longer tolerate. At first, this honesty feels dangerous.
Your body may tense. Your voice may shake. That is not weakness. That is conditioning leaving your system. Each time you choose yourself in a small moment, you rebuild trust with yourself. You say no when you mean no. You pause instead of explaining. You allow disappointment without rushing to fix it. These acts may seem insignificant. They are not. They are declarations. Declarations that you are no longer available for self-betrayal. And something interesting happens when you stop abandoning yourself. You become calmer, not because life gets easier, but because you are no longer at war inside. You stop chasing approval. You stop contorting yourself to fit. You stop negotiating your worth. Some people will resist this change. They benefited from your silence. Let them. Anyone who requires your self-abandonment to stay close is not aligned with your growth. The relationships that remain will feel different, less dramatic, more real. Because love that requires you to disappear is not love. It is control disguised as connection. In the next chapter, we will explore the fear that keeps self-abandonment alive, the fear of being alone, and how learning to sit with loneliness without panic restores your strength. Chapter 5. Learning to sit with loneliness. Without panic. Loneliness is one of the most misunderstood human experiences. Most people don't fear being alone. They fear what being alone makes them feel. The silence, the lack of distraction, the sudden confrontation with their own thoughts. So they rush to fill the space. They text people who drain them. They stay in relationships that no longer nourish them. They tolerate confusion because certainty feels safer than emptiness. But loneliness itself is not the enemy. Panic is. Panic is what happens when you believe that being alone means something is wrong with you, that it is a failure, that it confirms your deepest fear. I am unlovable. This belief is not innate, it is learned. Somewhere along the way, you are taught that connection equals worth, that being chosen equals value, that being alone equals rejection. So when you find yourself without someone's attention, your body reacts as if you're in danger. Your heart races, your mind spirals. You feel the urge to fix, to reach, to attach. This is not weakness, it is conditioning. But when you act from that panic, you reinforce the very fear you are trying to escape. You teach yourself that you cannot handle solitude, that you need someone else to regulate your emotions, that being alone is something to avoid at all costs. And that belief makes you vulnerable. Because when you fear loneliness, you will accept almost anything to escape it. You will accept inconsistency. You will accept emotional unavailability. You will accept less than you deserve. Learning to sit with loneliness without panic is not about liking it. It is about tolerating it long enough for its message to change. At first, loneliness feels sharp, exposed, uncomfortable. But if you don't immediately run from it, something surprising happens. The intensity fades, the silence softens. What remains is not emptiness, but space. Space to feel your own presence again. Space to notice your own rhythms. Space to remember who you are when no one is watching. Loneliness becomes a mirror. It shows you where you've been outsourcing your sense of self. It reveals the parts of you that have been neglected in the pursuit of connection. This is why solitude feels threatening to people who have spent their lives people-pleasing. Without others to reflect themselves back, they feel undefined. But this undefined state is not a void. It is a beginning. When you learn to sit with loneliness, you develop emotional endurance. You prove to yourself that discomfort is survivable, that your feelings rise and fall without external rescue. This builds a quiet confidence, not the loud kind that needs validation, the steady kind that doesn't panic when someone pulls away. This is the confidence that changes everything. Because when you no longer fear being alone, your choices become cleaner. You stop staying out of fear. You stop chasing out of anxiety. You stop attaching out of desperation. You choose from clarity. Loneliness, when faced consciously, becomes training for emotional independence. It teaches you to self-soothe, to regulate your nervous system, to stay present without distraction. Simple practices help here. Sitting in silence for 10 minutes without your phone, taking walks without music, eating a meal alone without rushing. These acts may seem small. They are not. They teach your body that solitude is not abandonment, it is safety. At first, your mind will resist. It will reach for memories, worries, plans. And that's okay. You don't need to empty your mind. You need to stop running from yourself. As you grow more comfortable with being alone, your relationships shift naturally. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer interpret space as rejection. You no longer collapse when someone is unavailable. You begin to enjoy connection instead of clinging to it. And paradoxically, this makes you more attractive. Not because you are playing hard to get, but because you are grounded. People feel when you are choosing them, not using them to escape yourself. Loneliness loses its power when you stop treating it like a problem to solve. It becomes a state to pass through, a teacher, a doorway. And once you learn to walk through it calmly, you're no longer controlled by fear. In the next chapter, we will explore how emotional independence is built, not by suppressing feelings, but by mastering your responses to them. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Emotional Independence. Emotional independence is often misunderstood. Many people imagine it means not needing anyone, not feeling deeply, or shutting down emotionally. But emotional independence is not emotional numbness. It is emotional responsibility. It is the ability to feel fully without handing control of your inner state to someone else. It is knowing that emotions can move through you without dictating your actions. Most people were never taught this. They were taught to react, not to respond. A message arrives late and anxiety spikes. A tone shifts and the mood collapses. A small rejection spirals into self-doubt. These reactions feel automatic because they are. They are patterns stored in the nervous system, formed long before conscious choice was available. Emotional independence begins when you insert a pause. Not a long pause, not a forced calm. Just enough space to notice what is happening inside you. You feel the surge, the tightening, the urge to explain, fix, or defend. Instead of acting, you stay. This moment, this tiny gap between feeling and reaction, is where freedom lives. Without it, emotions run your life. With it, emotions inform your life. There is a crucial difference. When emotions run your life, you chase relief. You say things you don't mean. You apologize for things that aren't wrong. You overextend to restore comfort. When emotions inform your life, you listen without surrendering control. You allow anger to show you a boundary. You allow sadness to reveal a loss. You allow fear to highlight what matters. But you decide what to do next. This is discipline, not suppression, not denial, but containment. Emotional independence requires you to tolerate discomfort without outsourcing it. Instead of asking, "How do I make this feeling stop?" you ask, "What is this feeling asking me to notice?" This shift changes everything. You stop blaming others for your inner state. You stop expecting people to regulate you. You stop handing your peace to circumstances you cannot control. This does not make you cold. It makes you steady. Steadiness is deeply attractive because it feels safe, not only to others, but to yourself. When you know you can handle your emotions, you stop fearing them. And when you stop fearing them, they lose their power over you. Emotional independence also changes how you relate to conflict. Instead of reacting immediately, you slow down. You choose your words. You speak from clarity instead of intensity. You don't need to win. You don't need to prove. You don't need to be right at all costs. You need to be aligned. This alignment comes from knowing who you are even when emotions rise. Without emotional independence, relationships become emotional battlegrounds. With it, they become spaces for growth. You stop using emotions as weapons or shields. You stop punishing silence or demanding reassurance. You stop confusing emotional intensity with truth. At first, this discipline feels unnatural. Your body wants to move, to discharge energy, to reach outward. Let it want. Discipline is not the absence of urge. It is the ability to not obey every urge. Each time you stay present instead of reacting, you strengthen a new pathway, a pathway of choice. This choice restores your dignity. You no longer need to explain yourself to be okay. You no longer need someone's response to validate your reality. You no longer need immediate resolution to feel safe. You trust yourself to handle uncertainty, and that trust becomes your anchor. Over time, emotional independence brings a quiet confidence, a sense that no matter what happens, you will not abandon yourself. You may feel pain, but you will not collapse. You may feel loss, but you will not beg. You may feel anger, but you will not destroy. This is power, not the loud kind, the kind that holds. The discipline of emotional independence allows you to love without losing yourself, to care without clinging, to engage without fear. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of reaction and regret. And most importantly, it returns authority to where it belongs, inside you. In the next chapter, we will explore how overgiving becomes a subtle form of self-rejection and how learning to give less with intention restores balance and respect. Chapter 7. Stop overgiving to feel worthy. Overgiving often disguises itself as kindness. It looks generous, it sounds selfless, it feels like love. But beneath the surface, it is frequently driven by something else entirely, the hope that giving more will finally make you worthy. You give your time even when you are tired. You give your understanding even when you are hurt. You give second chances before the first wound has healed. Not because you are abundant, but because you are afraid of being replaceable. Overgiving is rarely about the other person. It is about proving your value. Somewhere along the way, you learn that love responds to effort, that if you show up enough, try hard enough, sacrifice enough, you will be chosen. So you give preemptively. You anticipate needs, you soften conflicts, you make yourself useful, and for a while, it seems to work. People appreciate you, they rely on you, they stay, but appreciation is not the same as respect, and reliance is not the same as reciprocity. Over time, the imbalance grows. You begin to feel unseen, unmet, exhausted. You start asking quietly, why do I give so much and receive so little? The painful answer is this: because you taught people that access to you does not require effort. When you give without limits, you remove the invitation for others to show up. You leave no space for reciprocity, no room for mutual investment, and without mutual investment, connection weakens. Overgiving also keeps you disconnected from your own needs. You become so focused on providing that you forget to ask yourself what you want, what you feel, what you need. This disconnection erodes self-worth, because worth that is based on usefulness is fragile. The moment you stop giving, you fear losing love. So you keep going. You convince yourself you are just that kind of person. Caring, understanding, low maintenance. But deep down, resentment builds, not always toward others, but toward yourself. You wonder why you keep ending up depleted, why relationships feel one-sided, why love feels like labor. The truth is uncomfortable but freeing. Overgiving is a form of self-rejection. Each time you give beyond your capacity to secure connection, you tell yourself your presence alone is not enough, that you must add value to earn belonging. This belief keeps you trapped. Healing begins when you stop giving automatically and start giving intentionally. Intentional giving asks a different question. Do I want to give this, or am I afraid not to? Fear-based giving drains you. Choice-based giving nourishes you. Learning to give less does not make you selfish. It makes you honest. Honest about your limits, honest about your energy, honest about your needs. At first, giving less will feel wrong. Your body may tense. Your mind may warn you that people will leave. Let that fear surface. Because anyone who only stays when you overextend was never connected to you, only to what you provided. When you slow down your giving, something revealing happens. Some people step forward. They check in. They contribute. They meet you halfway. Others fade. This is not loss. It is clarity. You begin to see who values you and who benefits from you. This clarity restores balance. You stop pouring into empty containers. You start investing where energy flows both ways, and with balance comes respect. People respect what has boundaries. They respect what is not endlessly available. They respect what cannot be taken for granted. When you stop overgiving, your presence gains weight. Your yes becomes meaningful. Your no becomes trusted. Your time becomes valuable. You no longer perform for love. You participate in it. This shift also changes how you feel about yourself. You begin to experience rest without guilt, silence without anxiety, distance without panic. You learn that you are allowed to receive, that you are allowed to need, that you are allowed to be held as well as hold. Love becomes lighter, not because you care less, but because you are no longer bleeding to stay connected. Overgiving was never the proof of your worth. It was the symptom of forgetting it. When you give from fullness instead of fear, love finds its natural balance. In the next chapter, we will explore how boundaries, often misunderstood as walls, are actually the highest expression of self-love and the key to sustaining healthy connection. Chapter 8. Boundaries are the highest form of self-love. For many people, the word boundary carries tension. It sounds harsh, cold, like rejection. But boundaries are not walls. They are definitions. They define where you end and where another person begins. They protect your inner world so that connection can exist without collapse. If you grew up learning that love required compliance, boundaries may feel threatening. You may associate them with conflict, abandonment, or guilt. So instead of setting them, you adapt. You tolerate what drains you. You explain what should be obvious. You endure what slowly erodes your peace. And you call it love. But love without boundaries becomes self-erasure. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about governing yourself. They are the quiet statement. This is what I am available for. And this is what I am not. Without boundaries, you live in reaction. You respond to demands. You adjust to expectations. You absorb emotions that are not yours to carry. This constant openness may look generous, but it is unsustainable. Your energy leaks. Your clarity blurs. Your resentment grows. Boundaries restore structure. They give your nervous system something solid to lean against. They allow you to stay present without becoming overwhelmed. They make connection safer, not smaller. One of the greatest myths about boundaries is that they push people away. In truth, they reveal who can meet you with respect. People who value you will adapt. They may not always like your boundaries, but they will honor them. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will resist. This resistance is information. It tells you who was attached to your compliance, not your presence. Setting boundaries often feels uncomfortable at first because it challenges old conditioning. You may feel guilty. You may feel selfish. You may feel like you are doing something wrong. These feelings do not mean the boundary is wrong. They mean you are doing something new. Guilt is not a signal of harm. It is a withdrawal symptom from people-pleasing. Boundaries require clarity more than strength. You do not need to justify them endlessly. You do not need to over-explain. You do not need permission. Simple language is enough. This doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I need time. These statements are not attacks. They are truths. When you state a boundary calmly, you anchor yourself. You signal self-respect without hostility. You create space for authentic response. Boundaries also protect you from resentment. Resentment builds when you say yes but mean no. When you give but feel forced. When you stay silent but feel violated. By honoring your limits early, you prevent emotional debt from accumulating. This is one of the most loving acts you can perform, for yourself and for others. Because clear boundaries remove confusion, they allow people to engage with you honestly. They replace unspoken expectations with visible agreements. Boundaries also deepen intimacy. When you are not constantly guarding yourself from being overwhelmed, you can show up more fully. When you trust that you can say no, your yes becomes real. This authenticity creates connection that is grounded, not fragile. Many people fear that boundaries will make them alone. In reality, boundaries filter. They remove what drains you and preserve what nourishes you. You may lose access to certain dynamics. You may lose people who relied on your silence. But what remains will be truer. You will no longer be loved for your endurance. You will be valued for your presence. Boundaries are also a form of self-trust. Each time you set one and honor it, you prove to yourself that you will protect your inner world, that you will not abandon yourself to keep peace, that your comfort matters. This trust builds confidence quietly. You stop fearing confrontation because you trust yourself to handle it. You stop fearing rejection because you know you can survive it. You stop fearing disapproval because you are no longer dependent on it. Boundaries do not harden you. They stabilize you. They allow you to love without losing yourself, to give without resentment, to receive without guilt. When you love yourself more than anyone else, boundaries become natural. Not defensive, not dramatic, just clear. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the final obstacles to self-love, guilt, and how choosing yourself without apology changes the way you move through the world. Chapter 9. Choosing yourself without guilt. Guilt is one of the most powerful forces keeping people trapped in lives that no longer fit them. It whispers that choosing yourself is selfish, that prioritizing your needs is a betrayal, that saying no makes you ungrateful, cold, or unloving. For many, guilt appears the moment they begin to change, the moment they stop overgiving, the moment they set boundaries, the moment they stop explaining themselves. And because guilt feels so uncomfortable, people often retreat. They apologize for growing, they undo their progress, they return to familiar patterns just to feel good again. But guilt is not a moral compass, it is a conditioned response. Most guilt around self-prioritization comes from old agreements you never consciously made. Agreements that said, keep the peace, don't disappoint, put others first. These rules may have kept you safe once. They may have earned you approval. But they also taught you to measure your worth by how little space you take. So when you finally choose yourself, your nervous system reacts as if you've done something wrong. This reaction does not mean you are wrong. It means you are breaking a pattern. Guilt often arises when your actions no longer match other people's expectations. Not because you are harming them, but because you are no longer conforming. When you stop meeting expectations that benefited others at your expense, discomfort surfaces. Let it. Discomfort is part of realignment. Choosing yourself does not mean disregarding others. It means including yourself in the equation. For too long, you have been the variable that gets removed to make things work. Choosing yourself is the act of restoring balance. This choice can look quiet. You decline an invitation. You leave a conversation early. You take time before responding. These actions may trigger guilt because they challenge the role you once played, the role of the one who was always available, always understanding, always accommodating. Let that role dissolve. You're not responsible for maintaining other people's comfort at the cost of your own well-being. Guilt also thrives on misinterpretation. It tells you that if someone feels disappointed, you have failed. If someone is upset, you are wrong. If someone struggles with your boundary, you should remove it. But other people's emotional responses are not proof of your wrongdoing. They are signals of adjustment. When you change, people must recalibrate. Some will adapt, some will resist. Neither reaction defines your worth. Choosing yourself requires you to tolerate being misunderstood. This is difficult, especially if you have built your identity around being liked. But being understood by everyone is impossible. Being aligned with yourself is not. You do not need universal approval to live with integrity. Guilt loses its grip when you question it. Instead of asking, "Why do I feel guilty?" ask, "What rule am I breaking?" Often the rule is outdated, unspoken, inherited. Rules like, don't inconvenience others, don't put yourself first, don't need too much. You're allowed to revise these rules. Choosing yourself also means accepting the cost. Not everyone will stay, not every dynamic will survive. This loss is not a failure. It is a transition. You're not losing people. You're losing roles that required your self-abandonment. And as those roles fall away, something steadier takes their place. Self-respect. Self-respect is quieter than guilt, but stronger. It does not shout, it does not plead, it simply holds. Each time you choose yourself without apology, self-respect grows. You feel it in your posture, in your voice, in your decisions. You move slower, you react less, you trust yourself more. Guilt may still appear, but it no longer controls you. You acknowledge it without obeying it. This is maturity. Choosing yourself does not make you unlovable. It makes your love cleaner. Because love given from obligation is heavy. Love given from choice is free. When you stop acting from guilt, your relationships either deepen or dissolve. Both outcomes serve you. Those who can meet you as an equal will remain. Those who needed your self-sacrifice will fade. And what remains is space. Space to breathe. Space to grow. Space to live honestly. In the final chapter, we will explore what happens when you fully embody this shift. How stopping the chase transforms not only your relationships, but your entire sense of self. Chapter 10. When you stop begging, everything changes. The shift does not happen loudly. There is no dramatic announcement, no sudden transformation that the world applauds. It happens quietly, inside you. One day, you notice that you no longer reach for your phone the moment silence appears. You no longer replay conversations looking for mistakes. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself into being understood. Nothing external has changed yet, but everything internal has. This is the moment you stop begging, not because you decided to be stronger, but because something deeper settled into place. You realized that chasing never brought you peace, that proving never brought you safety, that shrinking never brought you love. So you stopped. You stopped asking for reassurance that never satisfied. You stopped waiting to be chosen. You stopped negotiating your worth. And in that stopping, your energy changed. When you no longer beg, your presence becomes grounded. Your words carry weight. Your silence feels intentional, not anxious. People sense this, not consciously, but instinctively. They feel that you are no longer trying to extract something from them, that your attention is not a request, it is a gift. This shift changes how others relate to you. Some lean in. They feel the clarity, the calm, the absence of pressure. Others pull away. They were comfortable when you were reaching. When you were overgiving, when you are available without limits, your stillness disrupts that dynamic. Let it. Not every relationship is meant to survive your growth. When you stop begging, you also stop performing. You no longer curate yourself to be palatable. You no longer manage impressions. You show up as you are, not as you think you should be. This authenticity is stabilizing. It attracts people who are ready for real connection. Not rescue, not validation, not ego reinforcement. Love begins to feel lighter. Not because you care less, but because you are no longer carrying fear into the bond. You can enjoy closeness without gripping it. You can handle distance without collapsing. You can face endings without losing yourself. Your nervous system no longer lives in emergency mode. This changes your decisions. You don't rush. You don't settle. You don't ignore red flags just to avoid being alone. You trust yourself to walk away when something does not align. And that trust is everything. When you stop begging, you reclaim time, energy, mental space. You invest in your life again, your work, your creativity, your body, your growth. You remember that love is part of life, not the center of your identity. From this place, love becomes something you share, not something you seek to complete you. You're no longer asking, "Am I enough?" You are living as if you are, and the world responds differently to someone who stands in that certainty. You are treated with more respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Boundaries are honored. Words are chosen more carefully around you. Your absence is felt. This is not manipulation, it is alignment. You're no longer leaking energy through anxiety and over-effort. You are contained, and containment creates gravity. The most important change, however, is not external. It is internal. You no longer feel at war with yourself. You no longer question every choice. You no longer abandon your inner world to keep peace. You trust your feelings without being ruled by them. You listen to your needs without apologizing for them. You become someone you can rely on. This is the deepest form of self-love. Not affirmations, not aesthetics, not confidence displays, but loyalty to yourself. When you stop begging for love, you do not become alone. You become whole, and from wholeness, love arrives differently, calmer, cleaner, more real. In the conclusion, we will bring everything together: how to live from this place daily, how to maintain it, and how to ensure you never return to the old pattern of begging again. Love yourself or pay the price. Forever. There comes a quiet moment after understanding settles in. Not excitement, not relief, just clarity. You see your past differently now, not as a series of mistakes, but as a pattern you were never taught to recognize. You see how often you confused love with effort, attachment with depth, endurance with loyalty. And instead of shame, something else appears. Compassion, for the version of you who tried to earn safety. For the version of you who gave too much hoping it would finally be enough. For the version of you who begged, not because you were weak, but because you were afraid to lose connection. This audiobook was never about teaching you how to love harder. It was about teaching you how to stop abandoning yourself in the process. Because the truth is simple, even if it took a long road to reach it. When you don't love yourself more than anyone else, someone else always pays the price. And eventually, that someone is you. You pay with your boundaries, with your energy, with your peace. You pay with the quiet ache of knowing you stayed when you shouldn't have, with the exhaustion of explaining yourself to people who never listened, with the loneliness that comes from being surrounded but unseen. Self-love is not a reward you earn after suffering enough. It is a responsibility to protect your inner world, to honor your limits, to tell the truth about what hurts and what heals. When you love yourself more than anyone else, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop making deals with fear. You stop asking permission to exist as you are. This does not make you perfect. It makes you present. You will still feel pain. You will still feel loss. But you will no longer collapse in the face of them. You will feel emotions without being consumed. You will face endings without erasing yourself. You will experience love without losing your center. That is the difference. You don't become invulnerable. You become grounded. From this place, your relationships change, not because you demand more, but because you no longer accept less. You stop chasing intensity and start choosing stability. You stop romanticizing chaos and start respecting peace. You stop proving and start discerning. And some people will fall away. Not because you failed, but because you no longer fit the role they needed you to play. Let them go. Anyone who requires your self-betrayal to stay close was never aligned with your growth. What remains, what comes next, will feel different. Quieter, slower, more honest. You will notice how your body relaxes when you no longer brace for rejection. How your mind clears when you stop rehearsing explanations. How your life expands when love is no longer the only place you seek meaning. You return to yourself. And that return is not dramatic. It is steady. You wake up knowing you will protect yourself today. You speak knowing you don't need to be understood by everyone. You walk away knowing you can survive disappointment without begging. This is the real work. Daily, unseen, uncelebrated. But it changes everything because the world responds differently to someone who is no longer asking to be chosen. Not louder, not more aggressive, just clearer. Clear in boundaries, clear in presence, clear in self-respect. And when love comes, and it will meet you differently. Not as something you cling to, but as something you share. You will no longer ask, "Please don't leave." You will say calmly and honestly, "Stay if you choose to." That is freedom. So remember this, especially on the days you feel tempted to go back to old habits. You're not here to beg for love. You're here to live in alignment with yourself. Love yourself more than anyone else. Not because others don't matter, but because you do. And when you finally treat yourself that way, everything else finds its rightful place.